All right, kids, today we are going to work on vocabulary. So in your do now, write the objective, I can determine the meaning of unknown words. Read the did you know about Hercules, and then write a paragraph describing any connection that you have made with Hercules and his labors. Press pause and do this. All right, open up to your vocabulary section. Today we are going to be studying the Greek and Latin root lewd and luge. It's L-U-D and L-U-S. Sometimes it's at the beginning, sometimes it's in the middle. What I want you to do right now is I want you to write down as many words as you can in 2 minutes that use lewd and luge. One more minute. All right, so let's see if we can figure out what lewd and luge means. So use the clues to figure out the meanings of these bases. Illusion is the magician used an optical illusion to elude discovery. So illusion is something that has been perceived incorrectly and tricking the eyes. And when you elude, you are running away. You are escaping in a cunning way. So it's a way to describe someone running away in a very sneakily way. Here are some other lewd, luge words that you might want to add to your list. Allude, allude to a recent event. Read a book's prelude, lewd, prelude. Enjoy a musical interlude, interlude. Collude with the enemy, colluding with the enemy, collusion. Suffering from delusions of grandeur, delusions. What do you think lewd, luge means? What about optical illusions? What do you see? Optical illusions. The word illusion uses lewd, luge. So think about what all of those words have in common. What do they have? What possible meaning do they have in common? So we are going to say that lewd, luge means play, trick. So when I say lewd, luge, you're going to say play, trick. And what you're going to do, your hand movement is going to be very similar to, have you ever seen this exercise? Let me see if I can get it to pull up. Where that rope exercise, you know, people put their hands out in front of them like they're alluding to something, kind of like play, trick. All right, so that's what you're going to do. So lewd, luge is play, trick. Lewd, luge, play, trick. Your hand should be out in front of your face. Play, trick. that's what lewd, luge means. Let's practice. Now remember, these words are going to show up probably on your test. The cops tried to catch the criminal, but he kept eluding them, making him impossible to catch. So this is an EXF word, so EXF. So he kept eluding the cops. So he kept what? Out or very? Out, because he would be trying to escape discovery, so he's trying to get away from them. It's that out, it's that getting away. So some synonyms would be escape or evade, maybe dodge. So some antonyms would be to get captured, caught, so on and so forth. Delusional. He was delusional to think he was going to become a rich man without doing anything. Lying on the couch will get you nowhere. If you think about what the word D means, it means like the opposite or to go against. So he's delusional. He's probably playing a trick on himself. So he is mistaken or misleading his opinion, his idea or belief. So there's no way he can make money just staying on the couch. So he's delusional. So some synonyms would be an illusion, hallucination. He's playing head games with himself. So some antonyms would be honest, truthful, straightforward. What about alluded? Alluded. It's not the time spent with the child at their activity that is going to produce the highest level athlete. It is in supporting the child in an organized activity, and Bill alluded to this, so the child can find what they truly like to do and let them go. So he alluded to this. He tried to give hints towards, suggest, mention without discussing at full length. So he was referring to it, hinting to it, implying, suggesting. So some antonyms would be like straight up telling someone, straightforward telling someone, giving them the answers. Alluding to it is not giving them the answers. Alluding to it is giving hints, letting them come up with the answers. So let's practice. So you have a short piece of music at the beginning of a larger piece, collusion, interlude, elude, allude, illusion, delusional, prelude. So that would be a prelude. A secret agreement to do something with someone that is dishonest or illegal. Collusion, because he's working with. Avoid being caught or found. Elude. To describe someone as having a false belief about something. Delusional. Something that seems to be different from the way it really is. Illusion. To mention something or someone in an indirect way. Allude. And a short piece of time that comes between two events, an interlude. Let's check it. Woohoo! All right, go ahead and open up to your RRJ, and while you're reading, be looking for those lewd, luge words. Okay, these are some examples of some lewd, luge words. Now I want you to time yourself, okay, while you're reading. Everything you're doing today with the substitute is online. So what I want you to do is get on Chrome and open up to online stopwatch. And go ahead and start your stopwatch, and I want you to read for at least 25 minutes. So read for at least 25 minutes. Once your 25 minutes is up, I want you to show Ms. Dreemeyer. All right, so we are going to continue working with the Odyssey, and what I want you to do is get all your stories out and ready to go. And here's your do now. Reread this section from the Lotus Eaters. Odysseus awoke, choking, out of a terrible nightmare. It seemed to him that in his sleep he had seen the whole voyage laid out before him. He had seen his ships sinking, his men drowning. Monsters had crowded about him, clutching, writhing. What does this section tell the reader about Odysseus' journey home to Ithaca, and why is it important? Press pause and write down your answer in your do now. So we've talked a lot about foreshadowing, but haven't really spent any time on it, and the Odyssey is full of foreshadowing. So what's really interesting is this little comic here. You see you have a caveman, okay? He's just looking at a piece of wood. But if you actually look at his shadow, it foreshadows what is going to come of man. So man began with a stick, but look at where man is now. We're essentially living on our cell phones is what that is telling us. And that's an example of foreshadowing. So foreshadow is the use of hints and clues to suggest what will happen later in the story, often used to build suspense or tension in a story. So just like our lewd luge words are play and trick, that's kind of what foreshadowing does too. It gives you hints as to what you're going to be reading, what the whole story is going to be about. So to remember the meaning, try breaking the word foreshadowing apart. Fore means ahead, and shadow is a glimpse of something without the complete details. So it's giving you information about what's going to happen soon, ahead in the story. So why is it important? It adds dramatic tension, it creates suspense, and it conveys information to help the reader understand what will come later. So foreshadowing. Foreshadowing can be subtle. That's a subhypo word, below, under, up from under. So it can be subtle. It can come up from under what you're reading and give you hints. Like storm clouds on the horizon suggesting that danger is coming. That's subtle. So it's giving you hints that there is something that's going to happen. It can also be more direct, like Odysseus seeing ships sinking and more dangerous monsters in his dreams. So that's not really a subtle hint, it's kind of in your face. So sometimes foreshadowing can be subtle and sometimes foreshadowing can be in your face like that. So we don't have time for you to do this with a partner, but I want you to try and find where you see subtle and direct foreshadowing in the Cyclops cave. So ask yourself, are there phrases about the future? Is there a change happening in the weather? I want you to grab a highlighter, any color you want, and I want you to highlight 2 examples of foreshadowing in Cyclops cave. Hint, hint, they're found toward the end. So press pause and get that done. So now I want you to open your in-class notes. This is very important. We're going to write an analysis together, all right? So how does Odysseus's actions foreshadow future events? I have this copied for you, so ask Ms. Dreemeyer to get a copy so you can paste this in your in-class notes. I want to challenge you in 7th grade. We are challenging you with your warrant writing. Your warrants should essentially be 2 sentences long. So you have claim, evidence, rule, conclusion, evidence, rule, conclusion. Notice the poster on the board as well. So let's practice writing this together. How does Odysseus's action foreshadow future events? Okay, so how does Odysseus' action foreshadow future events? So let's do this together. All right, so let's write this together. So if your claim is Odysseus's actions foreshadow future events by telling us that bad things were to come, you need to be writing this in your in-class notes. You need to be able to explain this text using text evidence. So that's where you need to go to the actual story and find that text evidence. So as you can see over here, I've already started writing it out for you. So your bad future was foreshadowed when, and this is where you actually need to go to the text and find it. So my first piece of text evidence is going to come right here, where Odysseus turned around and called him a poor fool. Probably not the best thing to say to a Cyclops. If it's going to highlight. Alright, it's not going to highlight. Right here it says, you poor, blind, drunken, gluttonous fool. If anyone asks you, who has done this to you? But he was to regret this final taunt. The gods honor courage but punish pride. So that would be the text that I would use. Was foreshadowed when foreshadowed when Odysseus yelled at Polyphemus, and the author added, but he was to regret this final taunt. The gods honor courage, but punish pride. Now this is where we are challenging you this year in 7th grade with this second warrant. It's called a rule. So basically you're making sense of what that means. So you can use like an if-then statement, or usually, or generally when, or when. So you're essentially having those complex sentences. So here, usually when someone is taunting, and too prideful, others do not like it or them and find what they have said offensive. So that is just describing what it means when he was going to regret that taunt, that pride is punished. So that is what that second warrant, that first warrant is, and now your second warrant is where you really explain it all together. So this is why this was significant, because that's what your ultimate goal is to describe why this was a foreshadowing event, like why bad things were coming. So this is significant. This is when you guys learned last year. This shows that. You can still use that. You won't get advanced for that, but you can. So this shows that, or this is significant to show foreshadowing, because it is telling the reader that Odysseus has offended the gods by being too confident, and will be punished. So now you have your second piece of text evidence, which would be another foreshadow. And that second piece of text evidence would be right here, is after Polyphemus prayed to Poseidon and basically said, I beg you punish Odysseus for this. Visit him, here we go, visit him with storm and shipwrecks and sorceries. Let him wander many years before he reaches home. And when he gets there, find himself forgotten and unwanted, a stranger. Poseidon heard this prayer and made it all happen just that way. So the sentence stem that I started using is here. The future was also foreshadowed when let me try to make this bigger for you. The future, the bad future, was also foreshadowed when Polyphemus prayed to Poseidon, and this is where it's quoted. Poseidon heard this prayer, prayed to Poseidon to punish Odysseus. And Poseidon heard this prayer and made it all happen just this way. So this would be just like in the lesson where it's talking about direct foreshadowing. This is direct foreshadowing. It's definitely going to happen. So when Poseidon heard this prayer and made it all happen just this way. So this is my like if-then statement, my rule. When gods are offended, they get even. We know that from Greek mythology. We know that when gods are offended, they get even. They are just as prideful. So we have our warrant, our rule here. So now we have our conclusion. So this foreshadowing event this foreshadowing event is significant because it is showing that Odysseus is going to have a lot of trials and tribulations along his travels. So if you were to check yourself, you should have your answer. So here's your red. Your text evidence should be in orange. So here's my text evidence. That should be orange. This was also Odysseus yelled at Polyphemus. That's text evidence. My second text evidence was when Polyphemus prayed to punish Odysseus. But I paraphrased that. But here is the other text evidence right there. So now we should have our rules. So usually that's when I'm describing that right there. And then here's another one where we know that gods are, they get offended easily. And then here's my, this shows that. So if I do my Roy-G Biv, that's what it would look like. So I got it, right? All right, so now you're going to do one on your own. So let's just review a little bit what theme is. So theme comes together between your characters and your setting. So your characters, they have motives, character traits, there's interactions among all characters, there's influences and impacts of the characters, and you are going to get a piece of paper. You're going to do this on your own. You're going to turn it in. So I want you to think about the Cyclops cave. Okay, think about the Cyclops cave, and I want you to answer this question: which of the following would be a theme for the Cyclops cave? Pick your best answer, and then give 2 pieces of text evidence to support your answer. So that means you're writing an analysis. So use 2 pieces of text evidence to support your answer. So use the theme you chose and write an analysis on your separate sheet of paper and turn it in when finished. And make sure you have your heading, name, teacher, class, date in the upper left-hand corner. When you are done, just get your book out and be reading.